What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Combat Show, and this is the UFC 249 recap. UFC 249 was not only a stacked card, but epic fights all around. We had 11 fights, most of them coming by finish or split decisions, and I say split decisions because the fights were super close, like on the edge. But yeah, this is something we really needed during a pandemic or on lockdown. We haven't seen a live sporting event in like 2 months now. It's been 2 months almost since we had last seen a live sporting event. Pro wrestling, I wouldn't say count because I do watch WWE also. But yeah, moving on to like the fight bonuses. We had Justin Gaethje and Tony Ferguson winning fight tonight. That's a no-brainer, but there were so many good fights tonight. Honestly, a lot of the fights could have been the fight of the night material. And then the two performers of the night had to go to Francis Ngannou and Justin Gaethje. To be honest, a lot of fighters showed up today. A lot of fighters had great performance, like Bryce Mitchell, Bryce Mitchell's fight was amazing. But now let's move on. So let's go from the bottom of the toe and talk about it. The fights from, I would say, Bryce Mitchell versus Charles Rosa. God damn, 30-24 on one of the judges' scorecard. That's a 10-8 round on every 3 rounds. Like, this is my first time watching Bryce Mitchell fight. I've heard of him many times, but never have I actually watched Bryce Mitchell fight. But jeez, this guy's so game. He tried to do the twister over and over, and from what I heard, he's done the twister and won the submission of the year last year, I believe. But now we have him coming back, and his ground game is so game. We couldn't really see too much of his stand-up, so I do question his stand-up. But besides talking about Bryce Mitchell, let's talk about Charles Rosa. This guy you gotta give him props, dude. He defended submission after submission attempt 13-14 minutes straight. Like, who does that? It's just like saying how Gaethje's punches weren't knocking down Tony Ferguson. That's how we could compare Charles Rosa successful escape to Bryce Mitchell's submission attempt, if you think about it, right? I mean, he just got out of Kimura guillotines and tons of twisters all around, and he was escaping them left and right. But yeah, to get 10-8 from a judge all 3 rounds, you really gotta reassess your career. Like holy crap, dude. It's either Bryce Mitchell is that good or something's up with me, Like, that's pretty embarrassing. As a competitor, you would be like, that's the epitome of a downfall for you. Like, you're at your darkest time because of stuff like that. And you could say Bryce Mitchell, Damon Maya is retiring soon, but I'm glad we have someone else that, great jiu-jitsu, great ground game, goes not scared to go to the ground and submit you. And we have Bryce Mitchell, a young and up-and-coming lion, while Damon Maya is retiring. Yes, I know they're not in the same weight class, but who's next for Bryce Mitchell? Let me know in the comment below. That was such a crazy fight. And now let's move on to Aleksei Oleinik versus Fabricio Werdum. However you say Oleinek's first name. Sorry, it's kind of difficult. But yeah, close fight. I had Oleinik winning 1-2. 2-1 of the rounds. But my thoughts on Werdum. Round 1, he, Cruz would say ring rust is not a factor, but looking at Werdum, total ring rust. Looked at like he did not belong there. Like, this is UFC. Like, to see that type of fight coming out of Werdum, I was like, it was kind of embarrassing to have it placed in the UFC. But Werdum's coming out of a 2-year layoff for substance, illegal substance and stuff, and you see it though. You see he's not the same fighter he was. His stand-up was really bad. It's not the stand-up we once seen when he fought Travis Brown, Cain Velasquez, or even Mark Hunt. I was surprised, whatever drugs he was taking must have been one hell of a performance drug, because he looked it unstoppable as a heavyweight until, Stipe knocked him out. But before all that, yeah, and since then, 2 year layoff, substance abuse, no more. You can only imagine how much of his performance been drained, and he's at the age 42 now. So he's not young no more. He's not young. Both fighters were 42 years old coming into this fight. Olenek just kept going. Both fighters clinch a lot, and like I said, Verdum, if he clinch, he's gonna knee you. If Olenek clinches you, he's gonna try to hold your head down, uppercut you, throw some big bombs. But yeah, I really was surprised that Verdum wasn't throwing knees in the first round. You learn from Alistair Overeem how he beat Olenek. You would think the knees, and Verdum got knees. He gave a flying knee, some semi-flying knee to Mark Hunt for that intern title that he won. But yeah, it's like I wasn't. I mean, you could say it was ring rust, to be honest. Now that I think about it, because round 2, round 3, Verdum started to come back a little. He started to fight like he was in a fight, but in terms of his stand-up, it wasn't as good, But I was really excited to see this fight go on the ground. But yeah, moving on to Anthony Pettis and Donald Cerrone, Cowboy Cerrone, that is. Cowboy showed up in this fight. Donald didn't, so that's a good thing, because like what he said, he referenced to Conor McGregor fight. Donald showed up, not Cowboy. In this fight with Pettis, the rematch, Cowboy showed up. But yeah, it was at 170 pounds. Both fighters were just giving crazy strikes to each other. This could have easily been another fight tonight, in my opinion. But it was a close fight to me. I don't know if Pettis won. Cowboy did secure those takedowns, but he did not do much of the takedowns. And nowadays, the rules have changed, which I do agree. You can't just win a fight by taking someone down and not being active. If you take someone down, you need to be active. You need to do stuff on the ground. You need to take control. You need to throw your punches, significant strikes. Otherwise, the takedown don't mean much, especially if your opponent pops up. So, yeah, I believe that Pettis. I wasn't sure if Pettis won, to be honest, but it was a great fight. Great fight. Seeing both of them fight at 170, not drained. Yeah. Now let's move on to. Yeah, I also want to give a little quick tip. Talk about Michelle Waterson and Carla Esparza. I've never seen someone smaller than Michelle Waterson in the UFC, that is, fight, other than Carla Esparza. But Carla looks a lot smaller than Michelle. She even looked like a whole weight class down. And don't forget, Michelle usually fights in atom weight 105 in Invicta. So, wow. But yeah, Carla got the win, 29-28, just like what I thought. Alright, now let's move on to the main card, I believe. Let's see. So the main card, the first fight of the night in the main card, Greg Hardy versus, how do you pronounce his name? Yorgan De Castro. Yorgan is a security guard in the school. And Greg Hardy's a superstar NFL player, former NFL player, with a lot of history, not the best history. But, Greg Hardy, love him or hate him, you gotta respect that he is a natural born fighter. He has not been in this sport for long, and you could say the NFL has trained him mentally for hard work and made it more easier in MMA. Even though I do believe MMA is a harder sport than any other sports because of the type of training you have to do. But yeah, Jorgen's last fight, he KO'd Justin Tafa because Justin was coming in and he just gave him a hook check. But yeah, enough about Jorgen. Let's talk about Greg Hardy. This guy is a fighter for sure. Alexander Volkov, former Bellator champ, former M1 Global champ. And you're telling me that Greg Hardy lasts all 3 rounds of you. You're a champ. Greg Hardy is new to fighting. And he lasts all 3 rounds. He did get outstriked, but he lasts all 3 rounds. Coming into this fight, we weren't sure what to see from Greg Hardy, like he's fighting another knockout artist. Not much other than stand up, I would say, but he fought a knockout artist, and what he did good was he knew when to move his head back. He didn't get hit much with those big shots that Jorgen was throwing. He knew how to move his head back, And yeah, he got caught with a lot of leg kicks, but he started to point strike with the jabs. He did a lot of jabs, and yeah, you control the fight with jab. Even boxing, because Jorgen's only gonna box or throw leg kicks, and when you have someone that mainly just box, if you could out jab him, you jab could control the fight, and it could ultimately win the fight with the jab. And that's what Greg Hardy did. He mainly did the jab after round 1, and he controlled the octagon. He controlled the fight, and he got the decision. But so I'm looking forward to seeing what's next for Greg Hardy. He did not crack the top 10 though, that's for sure. Not even top 15, but you could say he's game. He ain't there to play. So yeah, now to the next one, Jeremy Stephens versus Calvin Kattar. We all know Steven missed the weight, which is a bummer because Steven is always a game fighter. But yeah, God, that was a vicious elbow, vicious elbow. He timed that elbow perfectly, and credit to Jeremy. He wasn't knocked out cold from it right away. The only time I seen Steven actually knocked out cold is a underrated fight he had against Eve Edwards. But yeah, in this fight, he got dropped. He was dazed for sure, but Kattar came in and finished him. Gave him a left elbow that actually split him open. It wasn't from the elbow he got that dropped him. Great stoppage. We all know that, but yeah, I would say Kattar outstruck Jeremy Stephens. More crispy technical boxing. Of course, we know Jeremy more of a brawler, boxing brawler, which he does set out his punches, which is underrated. But yeah, Kattar got him, more technical, more patient. He was getting smashed by Jeremy's leg kick, but ultimately he got the victory, got the time that elbow. Like, what's next for Calvin Kattar? I mean, you have top 5, right? He recently lost to Zabit, but do we want to see a Zabit rematch? We don't know what's next for Zabit. I would like to see Zabit and Yair Rodriguez. If not, give us Calvin Kattar and Zabit. You guys would like this one. Calvin Kattar and the Korean Zombie Chang Sung Jung. Ooh, fireworks. This is fireworks. If we see this potential, why don't we see Zabit and Yair Rodriguez, Chang Sung Jung, and Calvin Kattar? That could be a bracket for a title fight, and that will put more meaning in the title fight since Alexander Volkanovski is about to fight Max Holloway again anyway. But we don't have a date for it because Alexander's in Australia and they're currently still not letting people in and out like that for the next few months. But yeah, Calvin Kattar versus Chang Sung Jung. Whew. Now let's move on to what is next. Francis Ngannou versus Chorizo. I can't pronounce it. Rosenstrike. I'll just call him Rosenstrike. Holy shit, right? Holy shit. Like, I was commentating the fight while I was watching it. I was like, god damn, that was crazy, right? The leg kick first off, and Ngannou just went 1 to 100 really quick. Left his head, chin high up, just brought it out. Someone's getting knocked out right away, and he knocked out Rosenstrike. Oh my goodness, that, if you watched, he was missing most of the punches, and Rosenstrike actually struck him first on the chin, but right after that, Ngannou came back. He ate one to give one, and that hook knocked out Rosenstrike. And then after that, there was so many unnecessary punches. The last unnecessary punch, I was like, oh my goodness, that was really bad. Like, it was like giving someone their death punch, like the way it happened, dude. Wish the referee had came in earlier, but the punches were just coming so fast, you just wouldn't have thought. 20 seconds, that's how long the fight lasted. Not long at all. But Ngannou, since his two losses to Stipe and Derek Lewis, he's beaten all his opponents in the first round. You have Curtis Blade, Junior Dos Santos, someone else, Cain Velasquez, and now Rosenstrike. And this is for winner gets the fight for the title. and we're talking, but they're waiting, because Stipe Miocic versus DC is gonna be next. But we, high respect to Stipe. He is fighting this pandemic, so it's like you can't rush the man and you can't strip the man's title for doing his first job, which is serving the people as a firefighter. As much as a DC fan I am, Bay Area native, mad respected Stipe, but goodness, Francis Ngannou, this could have been an intern title fight just because we don't have a set date or time for the actual heavyweight title fight. But wow, like, I don't even want to see Nagano sit out for too long. This guy, the last 4 fights, he hasn't taken a beating. Like, but whew, who is next for Nagano if not a title fight? There's not much going on in the heavyweight, right? I wouldn't say give him Greg Hardy. That's another 20-second, 40-second finish. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to Henry Cejudo and Dominic Cruz. Man, dude, I was saying all along, like, after watching the first round, I seen that Cruz throws his right, he wings it, and he would lean to the left a little because he wants to fake a takedown, or he just likes to lean to the left because he likes to move around. And when he moves around, he has his hand down after throwing punches. And Henry caught him with that knee. That was a flush, beautiful knee. But yeah, I thought Cruz came out looking decent in the first round. I'm not surprised that Henry went for the leg kicks right away to immobilize Cruz movement. Because if you kill Cruz movement, what does Cruz have? He has wide strikes that are a bit sloppy without movement. I don't know how he's gonna land though. Cruz has done boxing, but yeah, Henry done good job on kicking the legs. I was surprised with Cruz. He came out with his hand higher up than normal. Normally he comes out fights, he just has his hands down. Shoulder movement was faint, but in this fight he had his hands up. So he respect Henry's power. That's when But Henry came out with some leg kicks, and to my surprise, Cruz was the one that tried to do some wrestling attempt first to the Olympic gold medal freestyle wrestler. And yeah, they both did some scrambles here and there. Round 2 came along. Round 1 was to Cejudo. Round 2 came along and Cejudo was getting tagged with some punches. Cruz isn't known as a finisher. I think he only won one fight by finishing the UFC, and that was to Takeya Mizugaki in like 40 seconds, if I remember correctly. But yeah, Cruz was tagging Henry. I was like, and just knowing Henry's power, there was no way this fight could last 5 rounds if Henry had won, and that's what happened. Cruz was tagging him, but Henry was reading. Henry was trying to get his rhythm right with how Cruz strikes, and yeah, Cruz threw the right, and Henry seen him leaning to the left, and he feigned a knee one time, and at the end of the round, near the last few seconds, Cruz got kneed because he got timed. Henry just timed him right after. I mean, it wasn't no lucky strike or anything. You seen it. Henry do the knee a little to make Cruz think more. But yeah, then Henry goes on to retire. I mean, retiring on top is just something else. He is the only fighter. Well, I don't know. Not the only fighter. DC's done it too. He's defending both of his title. DC's done it, and now Henry's done it. Henry's the GOAT right now of the division. He's retiring. I don't know of his retirement. I think it's more like he doesn't want to fight twice, 3 times a year. He only wants to fight when there's a big fight, like say whoever's the new bantamweight champion. If it's down the line, like every 1-2 years, he wants to come back for a fight. I don't know. But in terms of Dominic Cruz, what's next for Dominic Cruz? What is next for the bantamweight division? I mean, I don't want to see Dominic Cruz taking too much time off, because he's already done that 7 years total due to injury. So I want to see Cruz a bit more active. Should he move up weight? I don't know, because he looked a bit drained. But what's next for Cruz? Marlon Morales, yeah. I don't know. I don't know what's next for Dominic Cruz, but don't forget, now we have Jose Aldo in the 135 weight class. You know what's a good fight? Dominic Cruz versus Frankie Edgar. But Frankie Edgar is in a losing skid in his fights. But Frankie Edgar versus Dominic Cruz, why did I never think of that? Those movements, you're gonna see a lot of circling around if you see Dominic Cruz versus Frankie Edgar. A lot of less combo strikes, more movement from each fighter. So don't think of it more of a brawl. Think of it as every little movement's like holy shit. But yeah, that's just me being a MMA fanatic. But now to the main event, Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje. Hell of a fight. Hell of a fight. You know, I wasn't sure who was going to win this fight, to be honest. From the start, I really didn't know. I thought if it lasted on a longer round, Ferguson would win. You know, I thought lasting in the longer round, Tony Ferguson would have won the fight. But seeing how Justin Gaethje fought today, he conserved a lot of his energy. Every strike he did throw was with bad intention, but he wasn't throwing like 6-7 punches, going forward with several punches. He would give one as a counter striker. If Tony Ferguson comes forward, he'll give one, make Tony back up. You know, you seen on round one when Tony tried to do something unorthodox, Gaethje would capitalize and actually catch him. So he's read a lot of Ferguson's unorthodox striking. Like the spinning back fist he tried though, Gaethje would land the hooks on him and make Tony think twice about throwing all these odd punches and go into a kickboxing fight. That's what was happening. You know, Gaethje kept himself composed. There was a part on the last few seconds of round 2 where he started throwing bombs and went the old Gaethje, the Gaethje who lost to Eddie Alvarez and Dustin Poirier, reckless. And that's what Ferguson was expecting. So Ferguson caught him because Gaethje was going very crazy. And yeah, almost finished him. Saved by the bell, you could say. And the coach had to remind Gaethje not to get surprised. Keep yourself composed in this fight. Because, you know, it's 5 rounds. You took the fight in late notice. You can't go crazy because you're not going to last 5 rounds going that crazy. So yeah, coming back round 3, 4, 5, Gaethje kept himself composed. Not reckless at all. So surprised. Trevor Whitman, what a coach. What a coach for reminding Gaethje what to do. Those leg kicks were really doing damage to Ferguson. Ferguson based his fight style on lots of movements. And he was just second the whole time. Gaethje was first. Gaethje really trained the right way for this fight against Ferguson. He patient. His right hand was lethal. His left hooks were lethal. His leg kicks were lethal. And props to Tony Ferguson. Goodness, Frankenstein, zombie, whatever you want to call him. He was able to take so many strikes. Like, wow. Tony Ferguson, dude. Like, a lot of people who, if they had fought Gaethje first or second round after all those clean shots to the head, would have been over. But Ferguson took it all. And you know, after round 2 or round 3 I was saying, Tony Ferguson got Tony'd. His face was beat up. His cheek was all swelled up. His right eye was all cut up. It was bad. Tony Ferguson looked like he got El Kakui with some elbows. Tony Ferguson got Tony Ferguson. But yeah, hell of a fight. Props to both fighters. What a fight it was. I mean, I can't complain about stoppage. After the jab from Gaethje, I don't know what Ferguson was doing. He was stunned. He was stunned. His legs went spaghetti and all that. So I gotta say, it was a great stoppage. Congrats to Gaethje. Now let's talk about what's next for Justin Gaethje. You have 2 options. We have Conor McGregor, the money fight, or Khabib, I can't say his last name still, or Khabib. What are the 2 fights? I mean, it looks more like Justin Gaethje has been leaning towards the title fight. As you can see, he gave the interim belt away during the post-fight conference because he said he wanted to unify the belt basically. So yeah, and you know, Gaethje and Khabib is managed by the same manager, so that's gonna be an easy fight to put on. Because Ali, you're getting a double paycheck for this fight, and dude, I don't know, man. Can Khabib pull this off? Gaethje has some power, and he supposedly has great takedowns. So, whew, I don't know. I don't know how the fight's gonna go with Khabib, but I'm more excited for this now than ever. But yeah, you're gonna have to wait till like September for that fight due to Khabib. And don't forget, that's an international fight still, so we don't know how long it's gonna take all this visa issue. But we'll see. You know, who you guys got, Khabib or Justin Gaethje? Comment below. And you know, if not, what if Gaethje fought Conor McGregor? I think it would be a bad night for Conor, because we already know cardio is an issue. Gaethje's a different fighter than when he fought Dustin and Eddie. If you're telling me the Justin Gaethje that fought Dustin or Eddie shows up against Conor McGregor will sleep him with the left. But the patiently waiting and counter-striking Gaethje, you're not gonna catch him with that left. And even if you do, will Gaethje go down? We know Gaethje has a hard chin. The thing is, Conor likes to keep his hand down. Will Gaethje catch him with the right and the left hook? So, you know, Gaethje's the fighter to watch right now. It's not Conor McGregor. Gaethje has two options that are very anticipating. It's either Conor McGregor or Khabib. You know, to be honest, if he ever fought Dustin or Eddie Alvarez again, his new style fighting, I think he can knock them out, or at least TKO stoppage them. But yeah, I mean, let me know which one you think. But yeah, thanks for watching episode 1 of the Combat Show. Till then, and don't forget to subscribe.